What's up, guys, and welcome back to another edition of Competitive Edge Podcast. So today, if you're watching this, you're going to know right away that Josh Smith has a competitive edge. But when you hear his story, an agent that sold over 7,000 homes, we were talking before the show, over 10 million downloads with his long-form podcast, you're going to see one of my favorite acronyms, GSD. You can kind of figure out what it is. You've probably heard Tom Brady talk about that. What I can share with you today, not only in the business world, but in his own life, fitness, raising his 3 kids, somebody that I believe is leveling others up through his coaching and entrepreneurial journey. Josh has taken the knowledge and his expertise, and is not only somebody that's a performer that's out there competing every day, but he's also helping other people do that. So as I was prepping for this, we got to meet last year in Nashville, and I'll just tell this quick story. Is for those of you that you may not be able to see Josh, I'm just going to paint this picture of when I meet somebody, I consider myself pretty fit, and I see him, and right away I know this guy has discipline, this guy takes care of himself. And there's something about him I'm curious and want to know more about who he is. And so today, you're going to get an insight into that and how he's built not only his culture and his success, but how he's coaching others. So our realtors, mortgage friends, financial advisors, guys, take a pen and paper. This is going to be a good one. Josh, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you so much, man. Honored to be here. I've been excited for this and excited to jam with you, man.
Likewise, dude. We're kind of kindred spirits, and I knew right away. And I shared that story in Nashville when I saw you, and I'd heard who you were, and I'd kind of done the research on like who the speakers were, and like that's a dude I want to meet. That's somebody I want to connect up with. And right away, your energy and what was there was very gravitating. So I want to start with that. Is you've built yourself into who you are today. Obviously, somebody that cares about personal development, things that are there. As you look back, is there anything that's been a catalyst for you, or has been something that's really helped you continually level up? Because I look at what you've accomplished, it's not an overnight success. It's years and years, as we talked about, of winning and then stacking more wins. So it's really been that fuel and catalyst for you.
Yeah, I'd say, the most important element has been taking the time to get extreme clarity. My whole success journey started in my early 20s. I allowed myself to get to a point of extreme depression, to the point where I'm having suicidal thoughts every day. My lowest moment was planning out my suicide and getting ready to execute on it. And that, thank God I didn't execute on it. And during that low moment, you want to call it God, call it the universe, whatever your belief system is. But it was just this loud internal voice that was like, hey, before we go down this path, let's just try a different path. This other path doesn't work. Look, you can always come back here. And the honesty of it was, it just scared the hell out of me that I allowed myself to get that low of a moment. And without going into all the reasons and all of that, at the end of the day, dude, I allowed myself to adopt a hardcore victim mindset where I was blaming everybody and everything for how my life turned out. And, I quickly realized that, hey, man, for me to turn things around, dude, I had to take extreme responsibility of everything in my life. But then I'm sitting there chunking this down. I'm like, okay, dude, I'd never want to experience this element of depression again. Yeah. So then I'm like, okay, what's the opposite of depression? Fulfillment. So then I started thinking about, okay, what would make me fulfilled? And I had no idea. But that's where the clarity really started. So then I came up with 2 areas, because growing up, man, I was, I was a chubby, like, I don't know, through elementary school, whatever. But then going into junior high, got really into working out, got really into wrestling, martial arts. And then in high school, I started competing in bodybuilding. But then when I kind of hit my depression around that, 2 chicken breasts and 2 cups of rice per meal turned into, 2 Big Macs and hitting up Taco Bell. So next thing you know, I'm 300 pounds or close to 300 pounds, morbidly obese, drinking every single day. And I was also broke as a joke, man. College dropout, never made more than $10 an hour. So I started assessing. I'm like, okay, well, what are the areas, if I don't know what would make me fulfilled, what are the areas of my life that I think I could start working on right now that would alleviate some of this depression and put me on the right path? And I was like, okay, number 1, I'm sick and tired of being broke. Number 2, I'm sick and tired of being morbidly obese, have no energy and hating my body. So I just started to go to work at those 2 things, lost over 100 pounds, kept that off now for, multiple decades. And then that led me to sales, jumping into health and fitness sales. A year later led me into real estate. And, but that clarity piece is massive, man. What I've realized is, most people spend more time designing their grocery list, designing their Christmas holiday vacation than they ever do what they truly want out of this life. Yeah. And the more clear that you are on what is that you want. But then what I found just from, overcoming alcoholism, overcoming depression, overcoming some of these things, studying people that had success with overcoming these things, it wasn't just that they wanted to overcome it. They had a clear purpose as to why it was necessary.
Yeah.
So it's not just coming up with getting clarity on what is that you want, but making sure that you know exactly why it is that you want it and why this is a must. So it's like, what is it that I want? Why do I want it? Why is this a must, do thing for me to go out there and complete? So now we have not just the goal and the target, but the reason, the purpose behind that goal and spending that time. And then obviously we got to execute. But if you want something bad enough, and I've just found this in my own life, man, like if you want something bad enough, and if you allow yourself to get to a point where the pain of the status quo outweighs the pain of the change.
Yeah.
That's where we start to facilitate that change. I'm talking with a dude the other day that's going through a very difficult situation in business, and he's walking me through it, and I start smiling, and he's kind of looking at me. He's like, why are you smiling? And I'm like, dude, this is the best blessing and gift that's ever going to be delivered to you, at least when it comes to your business life.
Yeah.
Because then, dude, like you were at that point now where you were sick and tired and fed up with your situation. This is where that growth is going to be facilitated from. I'm like, may not feel like it right now, but 5 years, 10 years from now, you'll be thanking God every single day that this pain showed up in your life.
I love that you went into the clarity piece, because once you're sharing your story, and we have several parallels that we went through. As I was an overweight teenager until about 14, and my AAU basketball coach, I played basketball and soccer were my sports, and I'll never forget Josh. I went in, he's also our pediatrician. And so Dr. Snyder, walk in there, and high blood pressure, high cholesterol, hypertension, all these things that run in my family. And I remember he's like, if you head down this path, there's no coming back. Like you're going to wreck yourself as a kid. And that was a catalyst. And I wish I could tell you I kept it off forever. We got our first 2 kids, dealt with some issues and some similar things there. And I only share that so people know, like you see somebody like Josh and you see the high performance, you see what's there. I hope you guys also just recognize and resonate with the pain that you have to go through. And when you shared that clarity piece, I'd love for you to expand, because as I went through that in my own life a few times, like getting clarity in different seasons of like, why am I doing this? Why do I want that? Where do I want to be? How do you kind of think about that or visualize, or what is your strategy now where you are to make sure you continue to have clarity? Because I think people struggle with this. They might get it in one season, keep it, and then they lose it. How do you keep it and stay focused on that target?
Such a great question, man. I've got to and I can kind of walk you through the exercise, but I go through it every single year, because it's like, look, when I started this journey at 22, what I wanted, what I found that I wanted was much different than what I want now at 43. What I wanted before I was married, before I had kids. Like when I started this, dude, I was just so sick and tired of feeling like a loser, man. I just wanted, as silly as it sounds, dude, I just wanted to walk in a room and feel significant. So there's different seasons where you have, so there was a time where like the ego mattered to me. Now ego, like I could care less, right? So yeah, different seasons of our life, there's always going to be different things that are important to us. And then you start experiencing things. Like I remember 2017, I jumped on the speaking circuit very heavily. Now, if you would have asked me in 2015, 2016, Josh, what is it that you want most in business? I would have told you, hey, I want to become a high keynote paid speaker, making 50 grand a speech, traveling around the country, traveling around the world speaking. Well, I jump into the speaking circuit 2017, spend half the year traveling, living out of a suitcase, not seeing my kids every single night. I was like, this freaking sucks. Yeah. So sometimes you think you want something, then you start going down that path to realize, hey, this isn't what I really want, right? So it's constant reflection, takes time being in solitude. But what I do every single year and part of my planning process, I'll take 2 full days. I recommend to get into a different environment. Even if, I've had years where, dude, I go 3 miles down the street, check myself into a hotel room, or if you can go to a retreat, whatever, but even if it's got to be in the same, just a different environment, change up that environment, just completely unplug from technology. Obviously if you got to have, family members, emergency contacts, check-ins, but as much as you can, just unplug and give yourself that room to really plan this out. So I reverse engineer all of this. It's like, okay, why do we go out there and create business? Why do we do all of this? It's like, at the end of the day, it's to go out there and create the ultimate life that we want to create. So then I got to reverse engineer this so as I was going through my depressed state, and I didn't think of it until I hit that low moment, but I was a nurse's aide at a local hospital working on the hospice floor. And man, I would spend, my job as a nurse's aide was just to keep these patients comfortable, because you got nurses, doctors, like they're in and out, they got to go chart, so I'm spending like 8, 12-hour shifts just hanging out with these patients. And I don't know if it was because I was 21, 22 years old and I was young, or if it was because I was developing connection with them, but I wasn't a friend or a family member that they were open and honest with me. But of the hundreds, if not thousands of patients that I worked with during that phase of my life, dude, not one of them was like, life was amazing. Life was epic. I'm ready for the next journey, whatever that is. Every single one of them had the shoulda, woulda, regret list. Wished I would have married somebody different. Wish I would have traveled more. Wish I would have been a better father, better husband, better, wish I would have went after my dream career, but I played it safe. It was just, they're just listing it and you could see the pain in their eyes. So then as I started kind of reverse engineering this for myself and coming up with, again, my path to true fulfillment, I'm like, dude, that is what I call now the ultimate scoreboard, right? So blink of an eye, let's just say 84 years old, blink of an eye, we're all going to be sitting on our deathbed and we're going to play back the tapes and we're going to reflect, okay, what do we do with this gift called life that God blessed us with? Did we do something epic with it or we piss it away? So then from there, it's like, okay, now I'm 43 years old. That means if I'm blessed to live the average age of the average human being in a developed country, I got 41 years left on this planet. Mm-hmm. So then what must happen after everything I've done, everything I've experienced to this point, what must happen over the next 41 years for me to, when I'm reflecting on that conversation, to be like, hey, maybe I don't accomplish all my dreams, goals, and visions, but I know I wasn't a spectator. I know I jumped on the field. I know I played the game as hard as I possibly could. And I did everything as I possibly could to go out there and create an amazing life. So it really comes down to regret minimalization. Mm-hmm. So I'm always looking. So every single year, because again, things recalibrate, things adjust, things change, things that are were important to us may not be important to us with different experiences. So each year I'm looking at, okay, what's that ultimate scoreboard? How must that ultimate, tape playback conversation? Because like you can bullshit this to everybody else.
That's right.
But deep down, you can't bullshit it to yourself. And then from there, then it's okay. Well, then if here's what I got, what I must accomplish in the next 41 years. Okay, then what must happen? We're just entered 2025. What must happen in 2025 in every aspect of my life that's important to me to get me one step closer to that ultimate scoreboard conversation going the way that I want it. So that's how I reverse engineer, and just every year going through that exercise and doing that. And again, but you got to get, the hard part today, dude, is, we're so attached to our cell phones, to our devices, to technology. And I get it, man. I'm attached like everybody else. I mean, I do I don't allow myself the first 4 hours of every single morning to touch any piece of technology so I can process my own thoughts. And, but then outside of that, it's like for our work, for our businesses, for life, it's like we're glued to this crap.
It's
but
on there.
If we don't rig our environment in such a way for us to be able to unplug, it's very difficult to allow ourselves to get to the place where we need to get this kind of clarity. And this is why I think more people today, more so than any time in any of our lives, have more of a difficult time finding what that clarity is. And look, you don't need to have some massive purpose. I used to get down on myself all the time because I didn't have I look at guys like Elon Musk. I want to go out there and, revolutionize interstellar space travel to save the human species. I'm like, how cool would that be to have a purpose like that? Yeah. But I just don't, dude. For me, it's just, I want to look in the mirror and be proud of the person looking back at me. That's the only goal that I have, not just from an aesthetic standpoint, but like to look deep into my eyes and be like, dude, I'm proud of this motherfucker. Yeah. Right. And like, what must happen to make that a reality? So it doesn't matter how big or small or whatever, if you have a purpose or not. I think too many people get caught up on that, but it's like, dude, like we got this one shot, this one chance of this life. Hopefully there's something afterwards, but dude, I don't know. I'm going to operate from hope for the best, plan for the worst. What do I need to do to maximize the experience that I have here? So then that ultimate scoreboard conversation goes the way that I want.
Hey guys, it's Brian here. I hope you are enjoying the show. By the way, if you're an entrepreneur or a solopreneur looking to grow your personal brand, make a bigger impact, maybe increase your leads and grow your revenue, let's help you get started today by connecting up with my friends over at the Brand Builders Group. You've heard me talk about them, but if you're new here, this is definitely the first step to get you started in turning your reputation into revenue. Head over to freebrandcall.com/Brian Covey. Again, to set up your free brand call, go to freebrandcall.com/Brian Covey to set up a free strategy call with one of the team at Brand Builders, and they will dive into your specific goals for how you want to grow your personal brand. I can't wait to hear how it goes. Ultimate scoreboard. I love that because I'm a scoreboard guy. Sports. I think a lot of people, especially the ones listening to our show, they are very much the high performers and driven and want that. And I love you talk about that, like that no regret lifestyles. We're similar. I'm a little bit older, but I look back now and I do think there's seasons and kind of, in my 20s, there was a different play. And then my 30s, I kind of went a different direction. And then in my 40s, somewhere around like that 43, 45, I started to realize I was like, with 3 kids, and there was more. But I love that you also said this too, Josh. Like, I've never had this grandioso purpose. You know what I mean? Like, I just say, okay, God's gifted me with certain experiences and gifts and things, and I want to serve people, whoever that person is in front of me. But it all starts at the house and being a great dad and husband and all this. And I said, from there, I get to go out in the world and be a great leader. What I would love to know, man, I'm just curious in your thoughts and how you approach this, because you mentioned the 4 hours not using technology and all that. How do you minimize distractions? Because this is something that comes up a lot today of even high performers, man. We're pulled in so many directions, whether it's family or, we want to get our fitness time in there, or we want to go do something, maybe to develop ourselves. You're running a business, sometimes multiple businesses, like you are. How do you minimize and just control those distractions so you are laser focused?
Yeah, a lot of intention, right? So, but this comes back to extreme clarity. So then not only on a long timeline, but then, okay, 2025, I know exactly what must happen in each area of my life that's important to me. So my health and my fitness, my family, my businesses, of exactly what must happen. So on December 31st of 2025, I'm high-fiving myself of, all right, dude, you did a damn good job, right? So I'm extremely clear on what those are. And again, those roll up to the long-term vision. But then from there, when you have that extreme clarity, dude, it's a very easy hell yes. It's a hell yes, this aligns, or it's a hell no, this doesn't align. And then from there, like, dude, I'm a big believer in vision boards. Like, I've got my vision board right up here. So it's always front of mind. So I'm always seeing it. So when things come up, like, oh, hey, this opportunity, this thing, I can glance at that and be like, hey, is this getting me one step closer to making one of these things a reality? And it's either a hell yes or a hell no. And I learned that from my longest business mentor, Darren Hardy.
Oh, yeah.
It's just on that, again, you got to get to that clarity where it's a very easy hell yes, hell no. And then from there, dude, being really regimented with your schedule, and the thing that a lot of people don't talk about, right? It's like, it comes down to, at the end of the day, self-discipline. Right. But when we break down that word discipline, what is discipline? That word is just being a disciple to a plan. Well, what is a disciple? Committed, loyal follower. So all I got to be is a committed, loyal follower to this plan. So I got to have clarity on what is that I want, why it's important to me. Make sure then I come up with the best proven plan to get me from where I'm at to where I want to go. Then I just got to be a great disciple to that plan. And I find that gets us about 70% of the way there. And then some people are just insane freaks and have insane willpower, but that's not me. If that was me, I wouldn't have been a raging alcoholic for 15 years. I wouldn't have got myself up to almost 300 pounds of morbid abuse. I wouldn't have been massively addicted to Adderall for a lot of years. I wouldn't, dude, I'm a weak human being with very little to no willpower. So then how do I become a disciplined freak disciplined machine, even though I don't have willpower? So this is the missing component I think so many don't pay attention to, is making sure that you set your environment up to win. So an example of this is I get up at 3 a.m. every single day. Now I sleep. I'm in bed by 8 o'clock every single night. So I get the sleep that I need for my body to operate at my best. But if my alarm clock is next to my bed, I'm too weak of a human being where I will hit that snooze button almost every single time. So then it's like, and I battle with myself too many times of, I'm just going to be stronger. I'm going to be better tomorrow. And then again, just dealing realities. Hey man, I'm a weak human being, pretty much like everybody else. How do I set up my environment to ensure I execute regardless of willpower? So I just get the biggest, loudest alarm clock I possibly can get, set up in my master bathroom. So when that goes off at 3 a.m, I got to jump my ass out of bed, sprint, shut that thing off. Otherwise my wife's waking up, my kids are waking up, and I've got an unhappy household. Well, now I'm up and I'm awake.
Yeah.
So, it's like, I'm very strict with my diet, with my routine, whatever. I just make sure, dude, I love pralines and cream, ice cream.
Yes.
I will crush a whole, you have that in my, dude, I'll crush a whole quart in one sitting. I just make sure that shit's never in my house. Yeah. I just, again, set my environment up to make it as easy to win and as difficult as lose as possible. Rigging your environment. So it's like, dude, I have all the notifications shut off on my computer. When I'm here working and I'm in focus time, dude, my phone's on airplane mode and it's locked into a drawer, cause I'll get, all of a sudden the bloops go off, the alerts go off. Dude, you got these tech companies that have, billions and billions to hire the smartest, neuroscientists and say, we're not going to win that game. So, how do I need to rig my environment where I don't play the game in the first place, where I can stay focused on executing the plan, being a disciple to the plan?
Things you're sharing there. I got to share a funny story is, so I love ice cream too, right? I'm in that camp, and I realized we would have Ben and Jerry's, and my go-to was the Tonight Dough. And dude, that stuff was legit. And I realized when it was in the fridge and the freezer and all that, there were times that I was too weak to say no. And I got to my worst starting last year. Like, I think we were talking about this at dinner, and like 15.5% body fat. I look in the mirror and I'm like, dude, my face blown up, inflammation. Removed that, replaced it with a Ninja Creamy, right? And started building my own ice cream with protein and the things I needed. I only share that story with people so they know it was like, I got the same will, kind of desires and those things too. It's like, you put that ice cream in front of me and it's right there and it's the easy grab. It might happen. It probably will. So I love that you go through that in your schedule, and the things people don't talk about their environment enough. And so I'd love to go a little further. When you get to the office, I think this is where people today, where they work from home, like home office, or they go into a place where they are today, is there anything you've done to set that environment outside of you put your phone away, which I think is super cool, staying locked into what you need to do when you get in the office and not distracted by the urgent and the emails and the requests and stuff? How do you make sure that environment stays locked in?
Yeah, dude. So especially when you're managing teams, right? So it's being very, very strict with communication, expectations, what's acceptable. Like, everybody that works for me understands and knows that, okay, yeah, you've got your role and responsibility, but at the highest level, you exist here. So then that way can isolate my focus and my time on the highest and best use to drive the organization forward. So the more that you pull me out of what I need to focus my time on to help you with yours, like the less, you're pulling away from growth of the organization and you're not doing your job, so having those hardcore conversations with people up front. Now, making sure though too, like, we need to support our people. So making sure you got amazing onboarding for them, making sure that you've got resources available for it. Because if you don't, and I when I first started my real estate team, built up to like a team of 20, and it felt like I was running adult daycare. And one of my mentors is like, dude, this is totally your fault. He goes, unless you have not built a way for your people to be resourceful, so you're the only resource, like, this is all on you. So then I was like, okay, every time I get a question more than once, okay, let's record a video around it. Let's create a manual, SOPs. We've got our SOPs for every little thing that we do in our organization, video libraries. So it's very easy for everybody to get the answers, get the support that they need. And then from there, I've done this now for probably the last 15, 16 years. But like, okay, make sure I work in a windowless office. It's completely blacked out, minimum, just minimalist with anything that's around. I have a sign, like everybody in my organization knows, I have a sign on my door. My door's closed, and this sign says GSD mode in progress. Everybody knows, like, unless there's a fire at my house and my wife can't get a hold of me, like, it better be an extreme emergency. But if you disrupt me while that door's shut and that sign's on that door, it's the quickest way to get your ass fired. But then from there again, like, so, I've got times where I am available for, but everybody, so from a communication standpoint, we're all on that, on that front. So, because we're not careful when you start building, running teams, and it sounds like a lot of your audience are, have staff and building teams. So that element becomes huge. Then from there, something, again, I'm just referencing Darren Hardy again, but he taught me a lot of years ago was the 90-60 rule. So it's been proven through, like NASA proved this, I don't know, some time ago, that the human mind can only be laser focused for about 90 straight minutes before the focus starts to get diluted. But then it's just like, okay, when we're going and working out, and maybe we're doing legs, and like I did legs and shoulders today. So, I'm going to go, do squats, and okay, I put the bar on my shoulders, and maybe the max I can do with that weight is 15 reps. Well, can I only do 15 reps? No. If I rack it, wait 3 minutes, go back in, I can do another 15, so then we got to have that recovery time. So then I set my schedule up where it's 90-minute blocks and then 30-minute blocks. Or I'm sorry, 90-minute blocks and then 60-minute blocks. So the 90 minutes are on laser focus, uninterrupted activities that are going to be the biggest, growth projects that I need to work on, where I'm not checking emails, I'm not checking phones. Everybody knows to not disturb me, not to disrupt me. I do not allow my focus to be broken during those times. I set a timer. And the second that timer goes off, then boom, I enter my 60, which is allowed interruption time. So I'm still focused on, but that's where I'm checking emails, checking text messages. Staff, teammates can reach out to me, or clients, they need to get a hold of me, or if I need to return a message to them. So I try my absolute best every day to get 3 90-minute blocks in and then 3 60-minute blocks in every single day. So that's kind of like a daily tactical thing that I do.
Yeah, I love that. And one of my coaches had shared that with me too, because it's like, those of us, if we've ever tried, and I have tried this, to go all day or like 4 hours in a row or something, you're like, man, the fatigue, and you just end up not being your best. And I love that example. Like, if you're doing squats and you wait a few minutes and you get back on there, like, you're going to do another great set. But if you try to do back to back, say within 30 seconds or just keep going, failure will happen. And that's a great visual. We'll shift gears a little bit, man, because the mortgage and real estate industry is changing quite a bit. And you've been successful through a lot of seasons. And I'd love to know your take on this evolution of the real estate professional day, because, I think back to when we bought our first house, 2002, what was required then from a loan officer and real estate agents, very different than today. And so what do you see as some of those changes in 2025 for real estate professionals to be successful and to make sure that they are getting their fair share of what the marketplace has to offer?
Yeah. So, when it comes, fair share, right? I mean, I don't buy into fairness. It's about, we carve out, what we're willing to go out there and do, and you get what you deserve, based on the actions that you're putting forth. And with that though, it's, that understanding that, look, the reality is, man, it's tough as hell out there. I mean, we are really amongst, and this started happening in 2022, 2023, but we are now amongst the hardest real estate market transition that we've seen since the Great Depression. So when you look at, and then we start looking at, okay, why, right? Well, we are in the most unaffordable time to be alive as a U.S. citizen. At no point in time in human history since the inception of the United States, 1776, has it cost so much to be alive. If you look at a boomer in their 20s versus Gen Z in their 20s, they had 90% more purchase power. So when we just look at the affordability, and if you go to the Federal Reserve, St. Louis Federal Reserve is the department that's, in charge of tracking consumer behavior, consumer debt, what's going on with the consumer. So just go Google in Federal Reserve, St. Louis consumer debt versus savings chart. And you'll see at no point in recorded history has debt to savings rate for the consumer, the gap been this large. And at no point in time has it been accelerating and continue to accelerate at the speed that it is. Yeah. So like because I hear this all the time, like, oh, dude, well, if interest rates get back to 3-4%, man, we're going to see this big influx. I'm like, look, maybe I don't have a crystal ball, but I'm not holding my breath, because you remove real estate from, like, go to the grocery store, buy eggs, like everything that we do. Life has gotten so insanely affordable. And in a lot of markets like mine, dude, prices are down significantly. I mean, our prices are down 20% from the peak. So a lot of the cities within Phoenix Metro already technically are in crash territory, because the crash is, 20% correction or beyond from, the peak. So we got prices down substantially. We got interest rates that have softened substantially from peak that they're at. But we have new mortgage purchase applications on the mortgage side, the lowest that we've seen since 1990. Yeah. So we are in a very, a very tough environment, just because transaction volume, when you look at percentage of licensed real estate agents, as example, versus overall transaction volume, we've never seen anything like this. Now, with that also being said, I don't want to create fear. It's just that understanding, just like of all things in life, dude, there's times of peace and there's times of war. Yeah. 2012 through 2022, longest bull market in recorded history, longest economic expansion in recorded history, longest real estate expansion in recorded history. That was a decade long of peace that we've ever seen and we'll probably ever see again in any of our lifetimes. So yeah, you could kind of show up, kind of work hard, kind of be consistent, and go out there and make a ton of money. But now we've entered times of peace are always followed by times of war in all aspects of life. Now it's wartime, dude, right? So, I'm telling people, and like any of my teammates, as we start having these conversations, as soon as Jerome Powell came out and announced their quantitative tightening, process of like, hey guys, like, look, I don't want to hear anybody that comes to me, oh, Josh, I need balance. Like, this is a time where you got to pick and choose. Do you want to become a statistic and drop out? Or do you want to go out there and blow this thing up and continue creating opportunities for yourself or family? Like, pick and choose. Yeah. And if you need the balance, whatever, and you don't want to, go battle this war with us, that's fine. I'm not going to judge you. I'll support you, but I don't want you here. Like, I need my soldiers that we're going to go to freaking war with right now, and we're still in the thick of war. And look, the reality is shit's probably going to get a hell of a lot uglier before it gets better, and maybe I don't have a crystal ball, but, if you just look at if you study history and historical, economic cycles, the probability is greater that it's going to get a lot worse before it gets better, but that doesn't mean there's not massive opportunity out there. There's no reason why you can't be crushing it, why you can't be succeeding, why you can't, there's a few things that it takes. So number one is operating from a mental philosophy of there is no such thing as a good market or a bad market. The market's always good for somebody. As a real estate professional, it's your job to identify whom the market is good for, pivot, shift, adapt accordingly. Because I look at, real estate, and I'm not on the mortgage side, but the real estate side, but this probably correlates to both, but I'm like, okay, the real estate is the constant that's never changed in my 20 years of doing this. The variable that's always changes who's buying, who's selling, why they're buying, why they're selling, where they're coming from, where they're going, but I'm like, okay, my job is to know and understand and move and sell this product. Now I always got to be adapting to the variable. And this is what's allowed me, even during the great financial crisis, worst housing market crash recorded history, to continue to grow and scale my business, whether it's been up, down, sideways, anything in between, because I'm always focused on, okay, who's the market good for? Yes. I don't get set in my ways. I will adapt, pivot, shift, however I got to adapt, pivot, and shift to whom the market's good for. Now, there's a couple things that you got to adapt, pivot, and shift in this climate for. Number one, like if I look at the two biggest reasons why I'm seeing people struggle in this industry right now is, number one, they're still winging it. They're not treating their business as a business. Winging it just isn't going to pan out anymore, right? So what I mean by winging it versus, how do I know if somebody's winging it? Okay, if you show up to the office and you're like, oh, I'm going to work hard today, but you do not know exactly what you must precisely do to go out there and win, okay, you're just winging it. You need to know with precision what you must do every day, every week to go out there and win. Number two, okay, if you're not tracking the most essential KPIs that you must be tracking in your business. There's like two red flags. Yeah, right? So treating your business as a business means, okay, you've got a plan in place with precision, again, where you know daily, weekly, monthly, what you must do to win, right? You built your systems and processes around those. You're tracking the essential KPIs, and eventually as you scale, you're plugging in the right leverage components. The secondary thing is I'm seeing too many people still playing defense and not switching into strategic offense. Right? So defense is, okay, we're waiting for shit to come to us. Offense means we're going after it. And again, man, we had so much low hanging fruit. There was so much repeat referral business between 2012, 2022. I think it's just too long of a period of time for people to get so content and get lazy, where now it's like, now, am I still working past clients' sphere of influence? Yeah, of course. Yeah, right. But I'm not relying on that. It's like, okay, strategic offense is, okay, strategic meaning, okay, who do I need to target that has the highest probability of needing my services right now in this market? And then offense meaning I'm not waiting for them to come to me. I am going after them. So my fate is in my own hands. I take X amount of actions, daily, weekly, monthly. I'm going to get X result.
Man, rewind that. Everybody, you're listening to this, rewind. That was literally a masterclass. And I'm sitting here thinking about, this is applicable, by the way, Josh, to mortgage. And we were just having this conversation of how much the market has changed. And we can either fight it or we can say, this is the market. And we can look at rates and say, we wish they were lower, but they are what they are, and come up with solutions. And we realize there's this whole group of passive people. I think the same is true in buying and selling today. Is it's not like they're walking around with a billboard or a sign going, sell my home, I'm interested to buy. Like that's not the behavior that's happening. And I love that you talked about getting on the offense, because that's been one of my things is like, as a soccer player, it's like, we can't play defense on this game, right? There's things that if we do not go out and show up and go attack the market, they're not coming to us. They have other options, one, and some of them don't even know the information to make an informed decision that they should go buy an investment property, second home, maybe rent out the house, go buy another one, all these things. So I'd love for you to expand on this a little, because you're talking about going on the offense. And I think people know maybe what that means. And they think, oh, I'm prospecting a little bit each week. Josh, like, I know you're a pretty intense dude. You probably have some frameworks around that of what should they be doing on a daily basis to actually go on the offense? And what does that look like for you?
Yeah. So I'll give one mortgage example, just because this just happened with it. Dude, like 99.9% of those that I coach are real estate agents, team leaders, brokerage owners. But I have a few a year, mortgage clients that will come to me, or loan officers that will come to me for coaching. So I was just having this conversation the other day with a loan officer that just signed up for my coaching, and his business is down. I heard, you would know this stat, but I heard the other day something like 76% of loan officers aren't renewing their license in 2025.
It's actually not true.
Okay.
Quick little sidebar is they were counting multiple licenses. So if you had a license in 5 states, it was counted as 5. Now they're counting it. One person could have 10 licenses. It's 1. Okay. So it is down about 10 to 15% based on the latest renewals. Not nearly as scary, but it's down. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I get it, man. I mean, it's like, dude, I mean, it's the same for all of us, right? Like you look at peak of what, 2022, 2021, 7 million, transactions. Now we're in the 4 million, right? So transaction volumes drop down in most areas, 40 to 50%, but then I, was explaining this to him about playing offense. I'm like, okay, yeah, dude, you got, your refi business that kind of dried up, right? But then from there, I was like, dude, how many real estate agents, are you networking with? Are you going after? I'm like, dude, if I'm you, and he had a few, but I'm like, dude, every single day I'd have it on my calendar where I'm reaching out to 10 new real estate agents taking them out to lunch, having conversations with them. And then I'm like, but don't just go to them and be like, oh, we've got a great, I'm like, dude, like being a top producing realtor for 20 years, I'm like, I get the same pitch from every single lender, every single title company. And it's, oh, we do a good job. Give us a shot. We close deals on time. I'm like, okay, you want me to high five you for doing your job? Like, what else you got? I'm like find out, identify what their pain points are, what their obstacles are. And this is why someone will come to me for coaching. Cause then I'm like, now I can coach you through on how to help them solve that. Right. So like maybe they need to get better at their buyer consultation, listing presentation. Like you kind of become their internal coach. I'm like, you help them grow their business. They'll have a loyalty to you forever, but going after and establishing, because right now it might take 4 or 5 times the amount of realtor relationships to be feeding you those buyer, loans, buyer deals than it did in the past. And then for real estate, it's, on the real estate side, which is more my wheelhouse, it's, okay, number one, we got to identify, okay, who are you going after? So who has, again, had the highest probability of needing your services in this market? So let's just talk about the buy side for a second. Yeah. I'm looking at my market. Okay, for a lot of locals, they're like, hey, this house that's $850 today, 6 years ago was $350. This is ridiculous. And then wages haven't kept up, so it could be harder for local buyers. So then I'm, really breaking down, okay, who's my market to win for? Mm-hmm. So then I'm targeting and looking at, okay, where are the biggest reload states and areas that are moving to my market? But then again, being more methodical of that, again, who's this a big win for? So example, San Francisco Bay Area. So I'm targeting that area very heavily because we got an influx of people moving from that market to our market. Now they're living in a 100-year-old house, 1,300 square feet, 3-bed, 2-bath house that's worth $1.5 million. Their words, not mine, that they no longer feel safe letting their kids even ride their bikes in the front street because of all the homelessness and drugs. They're able to sell that, downsize financially, come out here, buy something for $800, $850. That's brand new. That's like a mansion to them with what seems to be zero crime. And they're like, holy shit, this is a massive win. Or let's just say I'm doing open houses. Okay. Like who am I targeting? What's my ideal buyer client in this market? Okay. Who I want in this market is the final move up buyers, 40 to 55-year-old married couples. Cause if you're not making 200 grand your household income, it's hard to partake in this market. So their peak income earning years, they're buying that last move up buy. So they typically have kids in, still, junior high, high school. They're making that last move up buy. They're in the $600 to $1 million price point. So I know what school districts they want to be in. I know what most lucrative neighborhoods they want to be in, but I know what they want for product. They want 2,500 plus square feet, 4 plus bedrooms, a sparkling swimming pool, 3 plus car garage, $600 to $1 million price point, 0 deferred maintenance. So it's kind of like that movie, Field of Dreams, build it and they will come. It's like, okay, I'm going to do the open house in the area on the type of property where this is my storefront for the day where I have the highest probability of that ideal client walking in that door. So then I can go out there and convert them, right? So this is where, whether it's the buy side or the sell side, we got to get target on the who. So let's look at the sell side. Because I get it all the time. People are like, dude, I'm doing so much lead gen, lead follow-up, but just nobody has urgency. I'm like, okay, you're targeting the wrong people. Sales is all pain and pleasure. People are experiencing a pain with their current situation. Out of that pain, they want to get to pleasure. The more that you can target them when they're in that pain, the quicker they're going to have that urgency to go out there and make that move. So, okay, there's the 5 niches hitting best on the sell side. Now we got expireds and FSBOs. We don't know what their pain points are. We just know that they've raised their hands. That's right. Hard part, there's pros and cons of each of these. The cons of expireds and FSBOs is that everybody else is going after them too. So you have a different plan, and really dial in your process, but it's just so easy to do because our industry is just, not very creative, right? But then from there, the sweet spot I'm always looking for is where's their big opportunity, but where do I have the least amount of competition? Yes. So like in my market, man, you got absentee owners. Why are absent? So investors. Why are investors such a great niche right now? Okay, we've got prices coming down rapidly. We also are experiencing the largest cap rate compression we've seen in decades. So you got markets like Scottsdale, Arizona, rents are down 17% year over year and continue to decline. So you got their values are coming down, their rents are coming down. You got tenant evictions up almost 60% from pre-pandemic levels. You got 30% of tenants nationwide that are behind on rents. So it's getting harder and harder to maintain good tenants when they have to replace them. Rents are coming down, values are coming down, but at the same time, all their whole costs are going through the roof between taxes, insurance, HOAs, cost of maintenance. So if they want to sell at or close to peak pricing before the situation gets ugly, like now is the opportune time to do so. So targeting absentee owners. Now that's not going to be. I got clients maybe in Maine where prices are staying strong, rents are still going up. So that's. Absentee owners might be a market that's only good for, let's say, 60, 70% of the country. Then from there, divorces. Number one reason for divorce is finding like this. Okay, I've been doing this 20 years. My first 17 and a half years or whatever, never went after divorces, never targeted it. But then I'm looking at just assessing, reading the market. I'm like, okay, now we've entered the most unaffordable time that we've been to live as U.S. citizen. Okay, then I'm sitting there thinking, I'm like, okay, who's this market good for? I'm like, okay, number one reason for divorce, dude, is financial hardship. So divorces must be on the rise. So I started doing my due diligence there. And we start testing that niche, and now it's our third best listing niche today. Right. Targeting and going after people that are going, because it's like, okay, probability of them needing to sell to split this asset as they're going through this, hard time is very, very high. Average divorce is 90 to 120 days. Then from there, notice defaults. Right. So you got, I don't know if you're aware of this, but you got 12% of all FHA loans throughout the whole entire United States right now in 30 plus day default. So that's only 2% below the great financial crisis. Now, people, when I say that, agents are like, oh, the REOs aren't kicking up yet. And I don't know if they're going to at the same path, because if you look at what Fannie Mae is doing, I mean, they're selling their underperforming paper direct to private, equity firms in the back end right now. So I don't know if they'll ever make their way through like we saw it, but I'm telling you right now, NODs are on the massive rise. One of the biggest differences between now when I'm doing a lot of these versus, let's call it 2007, 2008, 2009, when I was doing a shit ton of these at that time as well, is back then they were all short sales. Now today, majority of people have equity.
That's right.
But it's like, even if you're in a 30-year fixed, it's like, dude, your mortgage payment's going up every year. Yeah, right. Still because of taxes and insurance. Then, I mean, everything is getting so damn high in life. People just are having a very difficult time hanging on. So that's what I mean by targeting the who. So we got to identify and target the who. Right. Then from there, we got to identify, okay, how are we going to target them? Now, how is going to come down to skill set, enjoyability, but also your timeline. So an example of this, I'm somebody that hates cold calls. I'll do them if I need to do them. Like I'll go freaking wear a chicken suit and spin a sign if I have to create opportunities for my family. I'll do whatever I got to do. But if it's like my least favorite thing to do in this business, so then from there, it's like, okay, I've created a very highly effective, high converting expired mailer campaign. But here's the difference, right? Is, okay, my average inbound call that I get off my expired mailer campaign is after 6.2 months post expiration. So that means it's about 7 months before I get that listing. So usually it's going to be, 9 months to a paycheck, because if you look at it, 10% of expireds relist immediately out of the gate, 90% kind of wait 4 months, that 2-year mark. It's like they're sick and tired of making their beds every day. They just need a pause. So the letters are really scooping up those longer term that just need that pause. Yeah, right. Which is great if I'm okay with, hey, I'm going to do this strategy, and I'm okay with understand I'm not going to have increased business flow for 7 to 8 months. But if I need listings like yesterday, okay, dude, it's going to come down to either knocking that door or hitting that phone, because it's like, okay, we can hit the phones, we can do mail or letter campaigns. We can scrape their data, put it into a custom audience on Facebook. They all work. They're all effective. They just have different timelines. So timeline really dictates based on, like when I'm coaching somebody, it's, the first question I always ask them is, how long can you go without a paycheck? Yeah, right. So we can identify, does it need to be more prospecting based, or it can be more marketing inbound based? Then from there, we got to hit and nail message. So how I speak to a divorce, somebody going through a divorce, is way different than absentee owner, way different than expired, way different than FSBO. How I speak to a Zillow lead is way different than a Facebook lead, way different than open house lead. Like, you got to make sure that you're matching the message. Marketing 101 is great marketers understand that the message must match the conversation going on in the consumer's mind.
That's right.
So that's the third component. You got to make sure that your message matches. Now, whether I'm doing a letter campaign, whether I'm cold calling, whether I'm, the message is all the same, but it's going to differentiate based on the lead source. Then from there, we got to make sure that we have the right process. Right. So right process is just, how long, how frequent, and which mediums do I need to continue to follow up with this lead, with this strategy to maximize conversions. So put those 4 things together. That's how we come up with, a strategic offense, effective lead gen strategy.
You went deeper than most people would actually even understand. And I love the specifics, right? Because that's what people are missing today is like, well, I'm going to prospect over here. And it's like, where, why, who, how, like all this stuff behind it. You even said it earlier, is people show up and they're like, I'm going to make some calls today. Great. You should already come in with the list, know what you're doing, have the message, the process, and what you have there.
Well, and then too, like with market shifts, it's like, okay, all this crap coming out Monday with the TCPA. It's like, okay, are you prepped for that? I mean, there's going to be a lot of people just that are going to get shut down really fast because they don't understand that, there's always disruptions, just aren't markets.
That's right.
It's new regulations, new laws, NAR rolling out their new rules and laws,
Oh, yeah.
The FCC really cracking down with his new TCPA laws. It's like, dude, this shit, like, you got to make sure that you're paying attention and adjusting, because it's like, shifts can happen because of technology, artificial intelligence. Like, there's lots of different ways that shifts can occur that we need to be adapting and paying attention towards.
Dude, I love it. Well, since you bring it up, I would love to know, is your team using anything AI, anything within this? Because I think about, you're talking about messaging and you're talking about systems and all that. And a lot of us, like, I struggle with some of that. So I always go get somebody, either a coach or somebody to help me with some of that. Are you guys using anything that's helping you on like the AI front or anything there with this? Yeah.
Leveraging AI very heavily. But when I say that, not leveraging AI for any element of lead follow-up. Now I own a software company. So we've been working with the FCC for over a year with understand these changes were coming. We didn't know the extent of them, but we knew, at least with AI and texting, how they're going to impact that. But like, if you look at like AI dialing, AI message, some of these fines are up to like 25,000 per occurrence.
I saw that.
Right. So, it's just insane, So do I leverage AI? Yes, 100%. So like, ChatGPT is always up in my browser. I'm a decent copywriter, but dude, ChatGPT is just insane, but you got to learn how to use these tools, right? So like with ChatGPT as example, you need to give it a concise, specific role. You need to give it the right context, and any added kind of, things that you really want out of that thing. You got to feed it the right instructions. But for like video editing, social media stuff, like I use Gamma app all the time for help. Gamma app, I can go in there and create badass presentations in minutes that would take me with, like I can't draw stick figures, dude. Right. So, so you leveraging, the primary ones that I use a lot is ChatGPT, which I think everybody should be using. Because even with ChatGPT, dude, like you can go in there and download the app on your phone and have it role play with you and set challenge, right? Like there's so many great tools that it can do that you can help it grow your business with. I use Opus Clips a ton for social media. Yeah, so taking, content like this, repurpose it in there. And because the reality is I'm not going to spend the time to go out there and I can just pop it in there 15 minutes later. I've got, 20 clips, choose 4 of them that I like from that podcast and then just drop it in. And like I said, I use Gamma app a lot. I use Stripo quite a bit for like newsletters, and things like that. And there's some others, but those are kind of the primary ones. But yeah, when it comes to lead follow-up, like we want to talk about the TCPA for a second. Normally I'm anti kind of government regulation. It's kind of like, I'm kind of more libertarian, if you will, but I think that this is a good move and at the right time. Because we start looking at, I've been experimenting with AI dialers for about the last, 18 months or so. And man, we're getting these AI dialers, even tonality, pretty damn good, where they're probably better than 70, 80% of the industry. Yeah. So, but then I can have my AI dialing 90,000 people all at the same time. Which all sounds great, but number one, okay, so then can all my competitors. That's so right. It makes it more of a level playing field, but then from there, imagine that consumer experience. It's already bad enough with all the freaking robo-dials, all the spam that we get. Like, dude, like they needed to get on top because otherwise we just shut down as far as consumers, So it's really reverting us back to much more of one-on-one, but you got to make sure the consent is a biggie. So, okay, I go buy this expired data from this data aggregator. Dude, they're not getting consent on that. They're going and getting the list of expireds, right? They're going and buying the data from Experian, credit union. They're throwing it through a skip tracer. They're selling it to you. Like nobody on that list has consent. So you can be like, oh, I'm going to hit all these expireds and just not do the DNC list because DNC is getting cracked down that much harder too and think that you're safe. But it's like, no, if you don't, you have to have explicit consent from the consumer saying that they've agreed to give you their information and you've like on there, it's like, let's just say when I'm running my Facebook ads now with my disclaimer in there, it's, your information will be used to send you property listings that meet your criteria as soon as they come available on the market, as well as to call, text, and email you from time to time to check in to see if there's any real estate needs I can serve and support and help with. And then from there, you got to have your name and broker. So Joshua Smith, eXp Realty, right? So not only like, so because not only is it like, even if they have consent to get the data, if on that consent form, it doesn't list you, in your company name, okay, boom, you're in violation.
That's
you know,
right.
and it's not going to be the data aggregators that are in trouble. It's going to be you for freaking calling them.
That's right.
You know, so taking all of that. So, and like dialers is a big gray area. You know, they're really cracking down on any element of technology, you know, from this. So just make sure you're adapting, you know, accordingly.
Yeah. Great wisdom. I think people are going to be ready and some are not going to be ready. It's just what happens with this, but we've been talking about it. We've been talking about the change that's coming. I think 2025 is going to be a great year. I'd love to know your thoughts at the end of 25. I know you have your big scoreboard, everything you're working towards that you want to continue to build. What's one big goal you'd be the most proud of at the end of 25 that you smashed and crushed?
You know, so I recently, about 40 days ago, made the move to EXP. So then that way, you know, I could grow and leverage their platform to create. It allows, you know, allows us as individual agents to go out there and produce at a high level and amazing systems coaching, training, and support. But it allows guys like me that if they want to really create a brokerage inside of a brokerage, you know, because I was, you know, working on, you know, for a long time, building my own, you know, nationwide thing, and with all the lawsuits, liability, regulation, I was just like, dude, there's no way I can hit my target and hit my goal, you know, which my goal is to build a 40,000 agent organization in less than 10 years. So my main target by the end of this year is to be at 11 agent recruits per day run rate. Because that's where I need to be, 11 agents every single day run rate for the next 10 years to hit my target.
Love that. I love the big goals too, man. Like you just throw that out there like, yeah, there's 11 a day. Don't worry about it. We're going to have 40,000. And I love that, man. And if anybody's listening, you talked about this earlier, the right environment. You got to get around the right people. If you're not around people like Josh, you're not around people that are thinking big and pushing themselves, and they are an example in these areas, not just talking about it, but they're doing it. You need to hook up with him and get in the rooms, get in this type of coaching and connect up, because I know that's been one of my greatest accelerators. And it's part of why I look forward to these conversations, man. It's like I'm sitting here listening and I know I'm going to be able to listen to this back, take notes, listen to things that I might have missed through the conversation being present. And dude, thank you, because you're real. You're sharing things that are going on. And we could have talked about a ton of fitness stuff and all this, but I'm like, let's just see where this goes. And we could have talked for hours. And that's the depth of what you've created. So I always love to kind of wrap with this, man. Is there anything I should have asked you that's like on your heart, on your mind, that you've been really thinking about or engaging in your life or business that we didn't get a chance to hit on?
You know, well, first off, man, again, thank you for having me here. It's been a massive, massive honor for anybody that's watching or listening to this. You know, truly appreciate you guys taking the time to, you know, listen to this conversation. Hopefully this was helpful. The last thing that I will say is, look, on the path to creating success, it's easy to look at, you know, guys like Brian and be like, oh my God, man, you've had all this success. It looks so great, but I've yet to meet anybody that's created big success that hasn't been through extreme hell and back. You know, if you look at it, you know, zoom out on a long enough timeline, yeah, it looks like my success trajectory has been this, but dude, I have failed exponentially more than I've succeeded. I have made it, lost it, had to reinvent myself, made it, lost it more times than I'm like to even admit to, you know. So and the reason why I like to bring this up is, and to Brian's point of surrounding yourself with you know, other driven people and other people that have not just like I always look at this, hey, I want to create and surround myself with people that are at, you know, levels 10x greater than I'm at. Mm-hmm. Then I want to surround myself with people that are at the same level that I'm at. Then I like to surround myself with people that are even at a lower level than I'm at, so I can help bring them up. But the one combination is that they're all driven, you know. But when you're in those rooms and having those conversations, you know, right, you get to learn from the hell that they've been through as well. You know, like I remember reading, I don't know if you've read, it's one of my favorite books, Elon Musk by Ashley Vance. Yeah. Yes, such an epic book, dude. And about halfway through my real estate career, I lost everything. Not because my real estate business went down. My real estate business was okay, but I thought the sexiest thing on the planet would be to be an angel investor. Didn't know what I was doing. Made some really bad investments, signed some personal guarantees. Everything went belly up, dude. And so I lost my whole entire life savings, went to a couple $100,000 of credit card debt, and just to avoid bankruptcy and them take my personal home and whatnot. And man, I just listened to that. There's two books I listened to on just loop, you know, Elon Musk by Ashley Vance, and then Ryan Blair's Everything to Lose, Nothing to Gain. Wow. You know, but you read that, it's like, okay, he sells PayPal, you know, and his portion of that couple $100 million, top of the world, takes all of that money, reinvest that into starting, SpaceX, Tesla, and then gave some family for, Solar City or whatever. Everybody's telling him, no, you're an idiot, whatever, invest that. Loses everything. And not just loses everything financially. His wife leaves him, loses the house, takes the kids. He's sleeping on his buddy's couch. The bank's getting ready to put the chain on the door. Last minute, some VC capital came in and, gave him the breathing room that he needed to turn things around, but it's, it's easy to think, oh, dude, this guy's just so amazing. And he is, don't get me wrong. But like, dude, he has been through hell that I haven't. It's like, dude, I've made it. I've lost it. But at least my wife that I've known since I was 16, she's stuck by me through everything. I can't fathom losing everything financially and then my wife leaving and taking the kids. Like that would be the ultimate blow, dude. Like, I don't know if I could recover, so I guess where I'm sharing this is because I know so many people are going through a difficult time. Like, dude, this is your own personal success story. This is your own personal, from rags to riches, your kind of Rocky hero's journey story, yes. And it will bounce back, dude. Like if you, as long as you don't quit, you keep pushing through, you learn from those hard lessons, because we never learn from our successes. We learn from our failures. We learn from getting kicked in the freaking teeth, right? That's where you learn, and just keep pushing. Don't give up. And I promise you it will pay off.
Dude, great way to close this out. And man, I just want to thank you because I resonate with that. And I share a lot of those things along my journey of the amount of times that we've lost it all. And our two kids were born in 07 and 08, and, pretty wild story that we went through. And I'm with you on, thank goodness, Nicole's been by me and 23 years married this year and our 3 kids. And I know we share that as like, if everything else crumbling around you right now, it is finding that peace in what you do have. And I love what you said too, is I think about, Darren Hardy and some of the guys, like that hero's journey. Like nobody gives a crap about the person that just made it, and never had the battles. Like if you're in the battle, that story you're going to be able to tell. I don't know when it'll be. When you're able to get out of this and you're on the other side, that's your inspiration. So Josh, thank you, my friend. I know this is going to impact a lot of people, give them not only tactical advice, but also just inspire them. As I'm with you. Mortgage industry this year, we've already seen revised numbers today down, and rates are going to hold. Not going to be this big relief that everybody thought was going to come. And so it means we are in a battle, and it could be 2 years. And so if you get your mindset right around that and you do some of the things that we just talked about today, I'm telling you, it will be better than what it would have been. And so go on the offense, as Josh shared today. Go back and listen to this again. I know I will. And I just want to thank you guys, because these conversations, the things, I always feel privileged. I get to engage in these and learn myself. And my ask that I always share is, hey man, if this has impacted you, let us know. Leave us a review, leave us a comment, DM us. We'll have Josh's information so you can connect up with him. And then also share it with your friends. Because I can guarantee you right now, whether you're on the real estate side, mortgage side, financial services, there's someone or someone on your team, if you're a team leader, you need to get this type of information to, and you be the person that can equip them, get their mind right. And so you and your team and those around you, you guys go compete together. So Josh, thank you again, my friend.
Yep. Thank you. It's been an honor, brother.
Awesome. Well, guys, we'll catch you on the next episode. Last ask, leave us the review, share it with friends, and go out there and do something great. Until then, we'll catch you on the next episode.